Hey YouTube. So, there's a lot of things to look at when you're putting a log on a bunk and you want to cut it up. So, I'm just going to go over a couple things. Sometimes, what's at hand is your best tool. And one of the best things that you can recognize with your sawmills is once you have it level, you know that you have a straight line running along all the bunks, the top of the bunks. So if you look at this log that's on here, now this is a pretty beat up log. You drug this thing for about 1/8 of a mile through the pine swamp. But anyway, over here at the first bunk it's off about 1 inch. The second one's about 1 inch. The third one is about 1 inch. The fourth one is resting on the bunk. So is the fifth one. The sixth one's resting on the bunk. And the last one, or no, the fifth and sixth one are off about 3/4 to 1 inch. So basically this tree then, or this log I should say, has a little bit of a bow like this on one side. Now, if you consider the center of the tree, naturally all trees are tapered, but we're trying to get to that square cant that comes out of the thinner end or the smaller end. So we can also see that, if the difference between one end and the other end is 1 inch or 2, that you can deal with. But if you look at this thing here, we've got a major upsweep in here for this log. Just trying to get an idea here of the length of this thing. Off the bunk, the top of this log is around 27 inches. Now, the Woodmizer, I believe, cuts a 27-inch cut, or maybe slightly less. But at this end, if you come off the bunk here, you're looking at about 20 inches. So that end's sticking up 7 inches higher than what this end is. And then you could say, and this isn't the only way to calculate what to do here, I'm just telling you one way. Alright, so those of you who may not have do what I would have done with this log, fine, make a video and then we'll know. But anyway, having this log the way it is right now, it's too big for me to be rolling all over the place, so I'm not going to roll it much. It's on there, it's on. Anyway, here's what I'm after. I basically have at this end, I have about 3/4 to 1 inch off. I got the same thing up there. So basically the log is sort of flat on that side. At that end, I had, what did I say, 17 inches? No, wait, let me check that. I think it was 20. 20 inches. Yeah. So I got 20 inches there and 27 inches on this side. Now, if you take and you figure 27 here, 20 there, you take the 27 divided in half, and 3.5 inches is basically where the tree should have been, if it was a perfect circular object, which trees are not. So the thing is what I want to do here, I believe, since I'm only 1 inch off the bunk at this end, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and kiss this middle of the log and find out how close I am to being that 20 inches that I am at the other end. And then I'm going to start the cut. Now, it's not recommended to start in the middle of the log. It's hard on the saw blade to get going, and it has a tendency to ride up on an uphill from the log. But you can get it to go in there if you're careful with it. So then I can cut off whatever's over here that's not even with that other end of the log down there. This is one way of figuring out what you might need ahead of time to be able to get the log cut. Now, one of the problems here is the width of this log is pretty close to the edge of my frame here. I should be able to clear it, and I'm hoping I clear it, but I'm just saying it's close. Now, I'm not touching the dog on this side at this end, so if I tighten up on this dog, I should be able to get that all the way over there. Okay, so I tightened up on that dog there, and you can see I'm against this other dog here. Here, the middle's away, and you can expect that on a long log, and I'm against down here. So now I'm going to bring the saw down, and I'm going to touch here in this spot just to see, you know, what the measurement is there as far as the thickness of the log goes. So at this end of the log, you can see that I'm just kissing the top of the log with the blade, and we're about 19¼ inches on the gauge. So let me roll this up a little, and we're going to go down. I want to go down to about right here where the log starts to sweep up the hardest. So 19¼ we're about, I don't know, 20 3/4 there. So it's about 1.5 inches difference in the log, which is not a big deal, 1.5 inches. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start to cut this log right about here. Now I didn't record the cutting of this, but I did cut this off. I'll just show you. This is what I took off of there. And at this end, there's the 7 inches that I was talking about. Okay, so one of the things, if you look here, you can see my Woodmizer stops at 27 inches. And technically, once I cut through that, I can't even come back because the blade is below the log, the flitch. So the thing is I'm taking this off anyway, so it's not going to matter, and then I'll be able to come back. The one thing though is when you start to cut a log like this, if you see, you can see from the color of the log that the teeth actually started hitting it here. And what you want to do is you want to move the saw in and out, nice and easy. So this is so you don't screw up the blade. You go in and out until you get something that's going to grab it. And down in here we had this bark about 1/2 inch thick started grabbing the blade, and that was able to hold the blade down. Then we got into some decent wood there to cut. So I'm going to see how, take this flitch off of here, this piece of wood, and just see how straight that cut is. Alright guys, so like I say, I started coming in there. Now I have a T-square laying on here, and you can see that this has a little bit of wave to it. It is not much. You're seeing a lot of sunlight coming through there. Maybe 1/8 inch there. Little high spot here. Probably, this is probably a high spot rather than these being low. But I'm not sure where the blade would be, but you can pretty much guess from the end here where the blade came out that the low spots would be where you want the log to be. Now, am I happy with it cutting a little bit of a wavy log? Well, no, I'm not. However, I'm not going after a 27-inch cant either. I'm probably going to be breaking down to well, let's see, what did I say? That was 20 inches down there. So let me look at my handy dandy chart here. So a 20-inch log should give me a 14-inch cant. Alright, so a 14-inch cant is still pretty big, but at the same time, I'm not worried about this at the moment. It's my first cut of the day. It's the first cut I've made today, and I don't care if it's a little bit wavy at that point. I'm just trying to square this log up. Now, we did do quite a bit of cutting yesterday, and that is the blade that I sharpened. I think yesterday's video showed me putting that blade on, and that's still the same blade. Now, I can tell you that the blade is sharp. It does have a little bit of buildup on it of sap. Not much, but some. And that could also... But I had taken that off yesterday afternoon, so that's not the problem here. But I don't consider that really bad at this point to change the blade. I want to get this log cut down so I can handle it better. Okay guys, so I loosened up the dogs. The log rolled back slightly, and I'm just not up to turning this thing this morning, so I'm going to use the backhoe to turn it. Now, for those of you who are new to this stuff and rigging, there's a lot of things to know when you're working with the sawmill that are more than just, you know, cutting. For instance, a little bit of rigging doesn't help. Now, when you want to roll the log, what you need to do is put a choke hold on the log so that the chain doesn't roll around the log. And the way to do that is to take the chain and make a loop. So in other words, I came down with the chain, went around this part of the chain, and hooked it back on there. Think of it like a choker chain on a dog. And now when then what you want to do is try and pull as tight as you can. Now there's nobody in the hoe. If there was somebody in the hoe, I could pull on this, and then it would stay where it is. So it's going to move slightly when I move the backhoe. But what I'm after here is to show you, how you have to choke that thing to be able to turn it. So it's not just a matter of there you can see now this chain is starting to grab, and it's grabbing on the bottom of the log as opposed to grabbing, on the top of the log where you would pick it straight up. Let me try and get in a little bit closer there. Yeah. So I'm picking the boom of the bucket up. Now you can see how the log is turning? Rather than, now that it's slipped there, when I go to pick that up, all that's going to do is pick the log straight up and down. That is not going to help me. I need it to roll. And like I said, if somebody was in the backhoe, I could have held the chain snug at the bottom right where they would have picked it up. So what I got to do now is lower it down, roll the chain around a little more. Let me get over there straight. I'll be right there. I'm going to bring the chain down a little. And then I'm going to tighten that up. See, I'm going to roll the chain. I'm going to take the chain. Let me back up here. I'm going to take the chain and roll it around. So that's where the hook is at, or the choker is at. But I want this chain to be down further, so that when it tightens, it rolls the log rather than just rolling on the log. It's easier when you have two people because they can hold the log or the chain tight. You see the chain's moving a little bit there. There, now it's turning it. Now when it gets up so high, it's going to stop turning it. Right there, that would be lifting the chain, lifting it rather than turning it. So let me see where we're at here. Okay, we actually went pretty far. Not the end of the world because I'm not cutting all of this off. However, if you look at this, it's sticking way over into my frame where the machine's going to run. So I need to turn that back a little bit. And if I wasn't talking here, I would have already known that, but I'm trying to make the video. So now what we need to do is we're going to take the same chain, we're going to roll it on the other side. I got to get a little more slack. Get up a little more yet. So you can see that it probably has to turn, I don't know, maybe 15 degrees or so. So we could probably put the chain somewhere around here and go with that. Now the best thing to do would be to redo this chain a little bit. So what we want to do is come down as low as we can and rehook the chain. So I'm going to hook it on this one so I have that choker hold to it. It's probably going to turn it anyway, just the fact that the weight of the log is on one side. But that's not always easy to calculate either, where the weight of the log is going to end up. Now, if you notice, the chain is slanting that direction. I need to get the boom out there so this chain picks up sort of straight, because I don't want it to pick up the log and roll it backwards. Now the chain is basically straight there. so now I should be able to roll it back a little bit. When you've done some rigging, and I'm sure there's a bunch of riggers out there, you guys know there's a science to this. Okay, so it's rolling a little bit. Let me check it and see how we got. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I got this fairly straight. Not a big deal. The chain's probably not going to turn too much more. If I roll the bucket out there, I might be able to tighten up on the chain enough to move the log over. See how the log's moving over there? Now this, look, it takes a lot of experience to do stuff like this and to know what the machine's going to do. I've seen guys, you know, every day they come to work, they get the machine started, do some stuff, go home, eat their lunch, go home. You know, at the end of the day, they're not learning nothing. You got to learn stuff while you're doing these things. And all of this was taught to me by experience, not by any particular person. All right, so that looks good there. So I'm going to put a dog on here now so that it holds this thing pretty much where I need it to hold it. And then I can take the chain off. Got to get some slack. All I'm doing is reaching up in the cab here, in case you're wondering, to be able to work the controls. And then the other thing too that you want to watch out for is when you work, especially when you're working by yourself and you can't see the chain. If the chain hooks on to anything, I mean, if the chain hooks onto this, like a bolt like that or a bolt down here, you could wreck stuff pretty quick because you really don't realize how much power these machines actually have, and it's quite a bit. So, I mean, this is at an idle and you saw it picking up the log without an issue. I'm just going to get that out of the way. And then we're going to take a look at this log and determine how we want to cut this. Well, we're against the dog here, we're against the dog up there on that side. So let me dog this thing on this side. You don't have to be real tight. You'll know, you know, when you're tight enough. So now what we want to do is cut a little bit off of this end. Man, this thing has a lot of dirt on it. I'm going to brush this off before I go too far. And then I'll probably end up about right here cutting into the log just to round it out a little bit. Okay, I got you precariously sitting on the top of the log with a binder strap underneath you to create a little camera a little bit, so hopefully it stays there. I want to show you how you cut into this without wrecking the blade. So I'm starting at a point just about touching the log. You want to bring the guide in as close as you can to the tree all the time so that it helps to hold the blade straight. Okay? So we're looking good there. Until I start hitting where the log blade can dig in. I'm starting to dig in there. I'm going to back up as if I was sanding it off. Just to get the blade to dig in now. So I'm starting to dig in there. Backing it up back and forth to help to get the blade to wear the wood down. And put the wood down that would make it go up. Make the blade go up in the air. When I'm in that far, I'm in for a long haul. I'm pushing. So you can see what I got off of that. Not a lot, got probably 4 inches at the one end there, but it's going to make the log a lot easier for me to figure out how to cut this thing. I just want to see how bad it really is. I'm hoping you can see that. Yeah. So what I was trying to show you here is it's not the technique for cutting the log. There's many ways to cut the log here. Okay, you don't even have to fool around the way I am. You can just go ahead and start cutting it. But what I'm trying to show is if you have a log that's way out of shape and you're having a hard time figuring out which way to cut it, this will give you a little bit of an idea. What you don't want to do though is look at this square and say, okay, that's where it has to be. Now maybe it can, but you know, I'm thinking not. This guy was hoping to get a 15 footers out of here. Man, oh man, I'm back here to 2 foot, almost 32 inches, and I still got bad wood. Let's look at this end here. You can see there's quite a bit of good wood in there. Probably from, like, I could probably get some decent wood out of this section. Now that's a pretty big log, so you know there is a lot of wood there to get out, but it's also been eaten up pretty good. There's probably ants in this thing. You can tell by the way those striations are in there, right in here. I hope they don't come out now. I hope they're freaking dead. Anyway, so let's just see what we have here again. So the mill can pass by this in a number of ways. So I guess what we could do is start slicing some slices off of this and see how it works. I'll leave it just the way it is. You can see that piece here that I cut off. I'm trying to get the log whittled down a little bit so it's basically as, you know, true. And these are the things that you'd have to do to get this log cut anyway. Now that cut originates at the other end. So I got 4 inches over here. At the other end I went in about 1 inch. The center of this tree, I don't know if you can see the circles there, but the center of the tree is somewhere about here in this area. It's about 3 inches higher because of the width of the stump there compared to the other tree, or the other end of the log. So I want to work on whittling this down so that I get it closer to something manageable. Yeah, there's no way that I could handle that piece that's there. 4 inches, 16 inches, 16 feet long. So I'm just going to cut that with the chainsaw because that's going to be scrap anyway. Now you'll see the sizes that I cut that into so that I could handle it a little bit better. Man, that thing's ant-eaten. 43 inches up the log. This is what happens sometimes. You know, you think you're cutting a nice tree down. Let me show you that. You think you're cutting a nice tree down and you end up with this. My neighbor brought this log to me. You can see what it looks like when it's been ant-eaten. I don't know if there's ants going to be in here or not, or if they've already taken underground, because it is pretty cold. But this wood's not frozen yet. And also, you can see that I had a little wave there before. The wood's not bad. It's got a little bit of a bump here or there in it, but sometimes when you're just peeling stuff close to the bark like that, you do end up with some of this. Now, I would say that it's probably time for another blade, but I'm going to still, I want to chip away at this thing to get it down to where it'll give me a nice log that I can roll. Hey, just to let you know what I'm thinking here. Now, You can see that my cut is fairly in line with the rest of the log, so it makes the log look sort of straight. This side over here is pretty much in line all the way down with the rest of the log. What I'm concerned with is this bottom here. If you look at this from the side, at the third bunk there, it's not touching the third bunk, but over here it's below the third bunk by about 2 inches. So I just want to get that out of there. Normally on any other size log I wouldn't care about this, I'd just start cutting. But on these logs that are this heavy, it's really hard to maneuver it, so you want to try and get to your best cuts as quick as you can. Yes, if only I had hydraulics. But, you know, and I'm not teasing anybody who's mentioned that, I'm just saying, it's definitely easier, but I do have hydraulics, and I got it running, so I'm going to bring that over and roll this sucker. So I'm going to roll that until I get that bottom up, or actually that corner laying down on the bunk, and then I should be good to go once I take a trim out of that. Okay, you can see now that I have that corner down on the bunk, and I just did that with a choker hold. That's all I did with the chain. I put it on there, choked it like I showed you earlier in the video, and then I was able to rotate it. So all I want to do now is get the top of this corner taken off of here, somewhere in here, and I should be pretty close to where I want to be. Again, you don't have to do all this. You can just cut straight through them and, you know, do what you can do. But I try to want to get it a little bit closer to round so I can tell what's happening with them. Especially with that bad spot, I want to try and get as much wood out of this as I possibly can. Alright, so I made that cut off of that side, and now the log is more round to me rather than tapered out here. What I wanted to show you though is this. Now if you look at this board's pretty straight. Let me just look down at here once. Yeah, if you look down at there you can see that that board's pretty straight. So when I lay it on the log, it's touching at the end. There's a little dipping and diving here. Now it's probably up to maybe 1/4 of an inch dive. It's not bad, it's fairly straight, especially when you're getting into some nice wood. There's a nice straight length there, but if you look here where I actually came out of the, you can see where I sort of came out of the real wood. It's getting pretty wavy there, and I attribute that to the blade being dull after using it pretty much yesterday. You can see that this is not too good here at all. It started off, you know, at one spot, and then it's waving around there, so I'm gonna have to change this blade to cut this log up. And also, you know, my uncle was a landscaper, and he did a lot of tree cutting, so when I was not doing one thing, I'd be doing work with him. And he once told me that if you see a spark come off of a chainsaw chain, you may as well take it off and sharpen it, because it's probably dull. And believe me, when I was just cutting this, there were all kinds of sparks flying. So I'm probably hitting all kind of 1B stone, which is that little gray stone. You can see how dirty this is. I really should brush this off better. They have a tool that fits on one of the sawmills that actually cuts that edge out for you, and I bought one that fits on the chainsaw, or I should say my daughter got it for me, but I didn't get the chain yet for it to fit it to make it go on the saw. So that's something I'm going to have to do. So anyway, now with what I have here, like I say, I'm fairly satisfied with this as far as, you know, what's going on with it. I ought to probably turn it. I probably should turn it so that this side here, let me back you up for a little bit. I should probably turn this log so that this straight edge is laying down. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've only got like 5 inches to the pith at this end. Man, that tree really grew to one side. On this end here, it's pretty much in the center, 16, so I got like 8 or 9 inches to the center of the tree. So I want to be able to center that tree up a little bit better. So let's just take a look here. If you measure from there up, that's 10 inches. Maybe I should just roll it all the way around and set it on that bottom cut. Yeah. I'm going to clean this tree off better, this log, try and get some of the dirt off of it. And then I'm going to roll it onto this last cut I made. Now, even though the cut's not perfectly flat, generally it's flat. Since there's not a bunk everywhere along the length of it, it'll probably lay flat. Now, with my luck, there'll be a high spot right at a bunk, but it doesn't look like it. The one down here looks like it's between the two bunks. The one right here is between the two bunks, so I think it'll be okay. So it should generally lay fairly flat. So I'm going to roll it over so it lays on that last cut that I just made here on the top. And then once I do that, then I'm going to start cutting for lumber, because that's going to gives me 9 inches to the pith here, and down there it's going to give me the same 9 inches to the pith over there. When I roll it over, I won't have to jack it up, at least not much anyway. Something this long is going to have tension to it. If you jack one end up and it's holding all the way at the other end, you're going to have some flexing in the tree as you cut it down thinner and thinner, so you want to be careful of that. So yeah, I'm going to turn this over, lay the part that I just cut down on the bunk, and then I'm going to start cutting for a cant. Alright YouTube, I decided that I'm going to leave this log lay where it is. The center of the tree down here is 5.5 inches off of the bunk. In order to get the center of the tree at this end 5.5 inches off, I got to pick it up 3 inches. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Now, what I want to show you is, now that you're going to pick up the log straight, what you want to do is you want to put the hook on the top of the log, so that when the bucket tightens up, it's going to pull the log straight up. Okay, so you'll see that as I pick it up. That'll give me a way to put the boards back underneath there. Now that the pith is both in the same spot, I can just start cutting through that thing. I'll square that top off and then just keep cutting. The bottom will be whatever it is. I'll let it there because it's such a big log. I'll just turn it after I get the cant I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 12-inch cant. I thought it was going to be 14, but that rotted spot's just goofing me up. Okay, so I changed the blade on there, and you can see that I got a really nice flat cut there. So the blade was getting dull because of all the stones and crap that it was hitting on the side of the log. Oh, boy, this thing's taking a while. So anyway, I'm going to turn this now. This side is good for the cant. It's actually more than 12 inches. I'm going to turn the log and cut the bark off of this side until I get down to 12 inches of clear wood and then I'll turn it again. Okay guys, I'm just trying to save some battery. That's why you see me stopping and starting. You can see I got that side of the log against the dogs there. Now I'm going to cut the top of this log off to give me a nice straight board. I'm only taking it off down to where the bark ends on this right side over here. Well, I'm just scratching the surface here. I got my first 2-inch board off of there, and I'm down to the ants. So I'm going to keep cutting, but it's a shame that this has to end up this way. I think I'm going to roll this thing over, see if I can't get into this wood over here as quick as I can over in here. Man, if that log would have been good, there would have been a lot of lumber in that. Oh well.